Today's review features one of the most unique looking transparent keyboards I think I've ever seen. If you love RGB, stick around. If not, this keyboard has a hell of a lot more going for it. First off, let's unbox the keyboard. The KiiBoom Phantom81v2 wins on style points for the box alone. Inside you get the user manual, a braided USB-A to USB-C cable, this packet that contains a keycap and switch puller, spare switches as well as a screwdriver and some spare screws. You get this huge microfiber cloth which is just an incredible touch from KiiBoom. Finally, the keyboard itself comes in a plastic sleeve. Overall, I'm giving this unboxing experience a 10 out of 10. I'm going to quickly run through some of the keyboard specs and features before getting into my personal thoughts on the keyboard. The Phantom81v2 comes in at $159 on KiiBoom's website. It's a 75% layout keyboard with 82 keys and a volume knob. The keyboard is made from an acrylic material. You get tri-mode connectivity, meaning you can connect via Bluetooth 5.0, 2.4 GHz dongle or wired USB-C. Phantom81v2 comes with a 4000 mAh battery. So first things first, the Phantom81v2 is probably unlike many keyboards you've seen before. It's completely transparent from keycaps to switches and down to the case itself. I've got the clear version, but you can also get this keyboard in transparent pink, blue, purple or black. It's a 75% layout, so you get the full function row as well as the delete and home shortcut keys. You should have no problems when it comes to the connectivity, as this board comes with the usual tri-mode connectivity. You'll be able to connect to up to 4 devices at any given time, which is a really nice quality of life feature if you've got multiple systems. The board comes with a really nice branded weight at the back. You'll notice that this board doesn't feature height adjustable feet, so you are stuck with the default type and angle. With the battery being 4000 mAh, you can expect to get good performance, especially if you're against using the RGB lighting. Speaking of, the Phantom81v2 is really well equipped with RGB and it looks pretty damn cool. With the simple shortcut, you can cycle between all of the keyboard's RGB modes. If it's not your thing, you can always just use another shortcut to lower the brightness or even turn it off completely. The keycaps are a clear PBT in the SA profile, or at least it looks like SA profile. I was a big fan of this profile as you get a large surface area with raised edges, so your fingers slot nicely into the caps quite well, reducing the number of typos I was personally making. The keycaps have a good thickness to them. I would recommend considering a wrist rest with this keyboard as the caps are very tall and the board itself is quite raised. This paired with the lack of angle adjustability might not be everyone's cup of tea. Diving a layer deeper, the Phantom81v2 uses KiiBoom's own crystal switches. They're a pre-lubed 5-pin linear. Made of a polycarbonate housing with a nylon stem, these switches were made with transparency in mind. The switches require quite an average amount of operating force, with roughly 55 grams to actuate and roughly 60 grams to bottom out. Overall, I found them quite smooth and enjoyable to type on. With the keycaps and switches off, I'm going to go right down into the internals of the keyboard. There are 8 screws on the back for you to remove, and this is made perfectly doable by KiiBoom's inclusion of a screwdriver that we previously saw. Before that though, you have to remove the volume knob. I used a 1.5mm Allen key for this and it worked like a charm. Once everything is unscrewed, the top housing will just lift off, but before you pull out the internals, make sure to unplug both of these cables. If you want to separate the plate from the PCB, you also have to remove a few more screws. The first thing we get is a polycarbonate plate with lots of flex cuts. These are designed to give the keyboard more flexibility and a more consistent typing feel across the board. We get plate mounted stabilizers in this board, which are really only okay. They have a bit of ticking, which isn't the most delightful sound. There's plenty of sound dampening in this keyboard. You get this silicone layer as well as a PET pad. This board is gasket mounted with these silicone gaskets, which would ordinarily be on the more firm side, but I found there's an excellent amount of cushion to be felt. The PCB itself is 5-pin hot swappable with south-facing sockets, which is always nice. The PCB does support screw-in stabs, so if the plate-mounted ones aren't to your liking, you do have the option to replace them, which is a small but mighty feature of this board. The PCB itself looks really cool with the circuitry. I guess KiiBoom wanted to go above and beyond here, considering the PCB would be visible from the bottom housing. As I rebuild the keyboard, I just wanted to mention some more smaller but notable points about the Phantom81v2. You get N-key rollover, which is also known as anti-ghosting. This is a great feature for gaming as it allows you to press several keys all at once and for them to be registered in the correct order. The board is also available via Apple Maker's website for the same price of $159. If this is your first keyboard and you plan on taking it apart, just note that I found it quite tough to take all the keycaps and switches apart, so don't let that hinder your judgment of the custom keyboard world. Without further ado, I'm going to leave you with the sound test, followed by my final thoughts. To conclude, in my opinion, the Phantom81v2 is a really solid keyboard that feels extremely sturdy and well crafted. The typing experience was really quite pleasant in my experience. Whether it floats your boat or not, you have to admire KiiBoom's efforts in creating a really unique keyboard. $159 is no small sum of money, but for this Phantom81v2, I think it's worth it. If you enjoyed the video, consider dropping a like and subscribing, as there's plenty more keyboard content on the way. Let me know what you thought in the comments. I want to say a huge thanks to KiiBoom for sending this unit out to me to review, and a huge thanks to you for making it to the end.